Undercover billionaire saw his maid's daughter crying, then heard a truth that shattered him. Zara Williams sat surrounded by crumpled scholarship denials, each one a dream destroyed. Above them, Sterling Hotel's marble lobby gleamed with wealth and success. Down here, in the employee break room, Marcus Sterling's empire was built on a foundation of lies. "Mr. Sterling," Zara's voice cracked, "they reject every black student, every single one, but they told us it was merit-based." The employee scholarship fund Marcus had personally established, his pride, his legacy of giving back, had become a weapon of systematic racism. For years, qualified black students were being denied while lesser qualified white applicants received full funding. What Marcus Sterling discovered next would force him underground, into the dark heart of his own company, where he'd witness racism so brazen it would change everything he thought he knew about success, loyalty, and justice. But Marcus Sterling was about to discover something that would force him to become someone else entirely. The Sterling Hotel's executive elevator hummed quietly as Marcus Sterling descended to the employee levels, his Italian leather shoes clicking against polished marble. He'd built this empire from nothing, a black kid from Detroit who'd scraped together enough money to buy his first rundown motel at 25. Now, at 48, he owned 47 luxury properties across the country. But today, something felt wrong. He'd come down here looking for Janet Williams, his head housekeeper. 15 years she'd worked for him, never missing a day, never complaining. Her efficiency reports were flawless, her loyalty unquestioned. When his own mother had been sick, Janet had sent care packages without being asked. The basement employee break room was supposed to be empty at 3 p.m. Instead, he heard the unmistakable sound of muffled sobbing. Marcus paused at the doorway. Inside, a young black girl sat hunched over a scarred wooden table surrounded by scattered papers. College acceptance letters by the look of them. Her shoulders shook with each silent sob, and Marcus felt an immediate, visceral recognition. This was the posture of dreams being crushed. "Excuse me," he said softly, stepping inside. "Are you okay?" The girl looked up, startled. She had her mother's intelligent eyes, but where Janet's were calm and steady, these were red-rimmed with devastation. This had to be Zara, the daughter Janet spoke about with such pride. "Oh, Mr. Sterling?" She quickly began gathering the papers, trying to hide the evidence of her breakdown. "I'm sorry. I didn't think anyone would—" "Hey, it's okay." Marcus pulled out a chair and sat across from her, his expensive suit incongruous in the utilitarian break room. "What's going on?" Zara hesitated, clutching a thick envelope to her chest. Marcus could see the Northwestern University logo through her fingers. "It's nothing, sir. I should get back to—" Zara. The name felt familiar on his tongue. Janet had talked about her daughter's academic achievements for years. "Talk to me." Something in his voice must have reached her because the facade crumbled. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks as she spread the papers across the table like evidence in a trial. "I got in," she whispered. "Northwestern, Duke, Georgetown, full academic acceptance to all of them." She pointed to each letter with a trembling finger. "But the scholarship fund, the employee scholarship fund that was supposed to help families like mine." Marcus leaned forward. He remembered establishing that fund 5 years ago, a $250,000 endowment specifically designed to help employees' children attend college. It had been one of his proudest achievements. "What about the scholarship fund?" "They rejected me." The words came out broken. "All 4 applications. They said my qualifications didn't meet current criteria." She pulled out a thin rejection letter, the Sterling Hotel's letterhead mocking them both. "But Mr. Sterling, I have a 4.0 GPA. I scored 1450 on my SATs. I'm valedictorian." Marcus stared at the rejection letter, something cold settling in his stomach. That can't be right. Let me see this." As he read, his confusion deepened. The language was bureaucratic, filled with phrases like budget constraints and revised qualification standards, but none of it made sense. The scholarship fund was fully endowed. There shouldn't be budget constraints. "Zara, how many other students applied this year?" "Mama knows 3 other families from the hotel, all black families." Her voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "All rejected, but Jessica Walsh, you know, Mr. Walsh's daughter, she got approved with a 3.2 GPA and an 1180 SAT score." The name hit Marcus like a physical blow. Kevin Walsh, his regional manager. A man he'd promoted twice in the past 3 years for his cost-saving initiatives and efficient employee management. Marcus felt something fundamental shifting inside him, like tectonic plates realigning. This wasn't just bureaucratic incompetence. This was systematic, deliberate. "Mr. Sterling?" Zara's voice seemed to come from far away. "Are you okay?" He looked at this brilliant young woman, this girl who reminded him of his own sister at that age, full of potential and dreams, and felt rage building in his chest. Not the hot, explosive kind, but something colder, more dangerous. "How long has your mother worked for me, Zara?" 15 years, sir, since I was a baby." "And in all that time, has she ever asked for anything, any special favors?" Zara shook her head. "Mama says you earn respect through work, not words. She'd rather die than ask for charity." Marcus's hands clenched involuntarily. Janet Williams had cleaned his office, organized his home, managed housekeeping for his flagship property with quiet dignity and unwavering professionalism. Her daughter had earned her way to college through pure merit, just like he had 30 years ago. And someone in his organization was destroying her future. "Zara, I need you to listen to me very carefully." Marcus leaned across the table, his voice low and intense. "This is not over. Do you understand me? This is not how the story ends." "But sir, the deadline for enrollment deposits is next week. Without the scholarship, I said this isn't over." Marcus stood, his mind already racing. "Don't make any decisions about college yet. Can you do that for me?" Zara nodded, hope flickering in her eyes for the first time. As Marcus walked back toward the elevator, one thought crystallized with perfect clarity. He was about to find out exactly what was happening to his scholarship fund. And whoever was responsible was going to discover that Marcus Sterling hadn't forgotten where he came from, or what it felt like to have someone try to steal your future. The man responsible had no idea he was about to meet his boss in a way he never could have imagined. Marcus Sterling didn't have to wait long to see the corruption in action. The next morning, he positioned himself in the executive conference room overlooking the housekeeping office. From here, he could observe daily operations without being seen, a vantage point he'd never bothered to use before. At exactly 9 a.m., Kevin Walsh strode into the housekeeping department. Marcus watched his regional manager's casual arrogance, the way he dismissed employees with barely a glance. Walsh pulled Janet Williams aside first. "Williams, we need to talk about your daughter's scholarship application." Marcus activated the conference room's intercom system. Janet's voice came through clearly, dignified despite the tension. "Yes, sir, Mr. Walsh. Zara received a rejection letter yesterday." "Right. These things happen. The fund has very specific criteria now." Walsh's tone was dismissive. "Budget constraints. We have to be more selective." "Sir, with respect, Zara has a perfect GPA and—" "Williams." Walsh's voice sharpened. "Are you questioning the selection committee's decision?" Marcus watched Janet's shoulders stiffen. "No, sir, I just thought, because if you're unhappy with company policies, there are plenty of other hotels looking for housekeeping staff, none with benefits like ours." The threat hung in the air. Marcus felt his jaw clench as he watched this woman, who had never missed a day in 15 years, being intimidated for advocating for her daughter. "I understand, Mr. Walsh." "Good. Now, I need you to adjust the time cards for last week. Some of your girls were claiming overtime that wasn't authorized." Janet hesitated. "Sir, those hours were worked. I supervised the shifts myself." "Williams, you're not hearing me." Walsh stepped closer. "The time cards need to reflect standard hours. Period. These people need to understand we run a business, not a charity." "But sir, that would mean following company policy. Unless you'd prefer to discuss this with HR about insubordination?" Marcus watched Janet's hands tremble as she nodded. Walsh wasn't finished. "I'm implementing new scheduling procedures, more efficient coverage." He handed Janet a printed sheet. Even from his position, Marcus could see Janet's confusion as she scanned the document. "Sir, this schedule assigns all the double shifts and weekend coverage to our most reliable workers." "Yes." Walsh's smile was cold. "I'm sure they'll appreciate the extra hours." Marcus could see the pattern immediately. Every brutal shift, every weekend double, every holiday assignment, all going to black employees. All what, Williams? Nothing, sir. I'll post the schedule. Excellent. Oh, and Williams? That college counselor called about your daughter. She's been asking questions about the scholarship process. Walsh's voice carried menace. I told him we'd handled everything according to policy. I trust you'll make sure she doesn't cause any confusion. Marcus felt something cold settle in his chest. They were threatening Zara now. Yes, sir. Because it would be unfortunate if questions about the scholarship fund led to questions about your department's efficiency. These audits can find problems that require staffing adjustments. The threat was crystal clear. Question the scholarship, lose your job. As Walsh walked away, Marcus watched Janet slump against the wall, the scheduling sheet crumpled in her shaking hands. For a moment, her professional composure slipped, revealing exhaustion, fear, and quiet desperation. But what broke Marcus completely was Walsh's next move. He stopped at his assistant's desk and pulled out his phone. Yeah, it's Kevin. Tell the scholarship committee we've got the Williams situation handled. No more questions about criteria. He laughed. Actually laughed. These people never learn. Marcus's hands formed fists as Walsh swaggered toward the elevator, whistling. This man was operating with complete impunity in Marcus's own company, systematically destroying black families. Through the intercom came the sound that shattered everything. Janet Williams, alone in the office, quietly weeping as she stared at her daughter's college letters. The woman who had been like family was being tortured by an employee he had trusted, and she couldn't fight back without risking everything. That's when Marcus Sterling made his decision. If Kevin Walsh thought he could destroy black families with impunity, he was about to discover what happened when a billionaire decided to go to war. Marcus Sterling stared at his reflection in the executive bathroom mirror, his mind racing with cold calculation. 24 hours ago, he'd been a successful CEO living in willful ignorance. Now he was planning something that would have seemed impossible yesterday, infiltrating his own company. He pulled out his phone and dialed his head of security. James, I need a favor, a big one. James Park had worked for Marcus for 8 years, ever since Marcus had hired him away from corporate security at Goldman Sachs. If anyone could pull off what Marcus was planning, it was James. Whatever you need, boss. I need a complete background identity. Employment history, references, the works. Name, Mike Johnson. Age 45, maintenance experience, clean record. Can you have it ready by tomorrow? A pause. Mike Johnson, may I ask why you need a fake identity? Marcus looked at himself in the mirror again. Expensive suit, gold watch, every inch the successful executive. By tomorrow, he needed to become invisible. Because I'm going undercover in my own company, and James, this stays between us, completely black ops. Understood. I'll have everything ready by 6 a.m. Marcus's next call was to his personal assistant. Cancel everything for the next 2 weeks. Tell anyone who asks that I'm handling a family emergency out of state. Then came the hard part. Transforming himself. That evening, Marcus drove to a Walmart 2 towns over. He felt ridiculous pushing a cart through fluorescent-lit aisles, but he needed clothes that would make him invisible. Work boots, jeans, plain t-shirts, a baseball cap. Everything that would help him blend in with the maintenance crew. At home, he practiced in front of the mirror. Marcus Sterling, the CEO, stood straight, spoke with authority, commanded attention. Mike Johnson would be different. Shoulders slightly hunched, eyes down, deferential. He'd learned code switching as a kid in Detroit. Now he was switching back. The hardest part was remembering what it felt like to be powerless. 30 years of success had insulated him from the daily indignities that working-class black men faced. Tomorrow, he'd be experiencing them firsthand again. His phone buzzed with a text from James. Mike Johnson, paperwork ready. The maintenance supervisor position opens tomorrow at Sterling downtown. You start Monday at 7 a.m. Marcus smiled grimly. The downtown location was Walsh's flagship property, ground zero for whatever scheme was destroying families like the Williams. He spent Sunday studying employee handbooks he'd never bothered to read as CEO, memorizing maintenance protocols and union regulations. Most importantly, he researched Kevin Walsh's schedule, his habits, his management style. What he found in Walsh's personnel file made his blood boil. 3 complaints about discriminatory behavior in the past 2 years, all dismissed as personality conflicts. Performance reviews that praised his cost-cutting initiatives and efficient employee management. corporate speak for what Marcus now recognized as systematic racism. Monday morning arrived gray and cold. Marcus parked his rented Honda Civic in the employee lot, a stark contrast to the Bentley he usually drove. He checked his reflection one last time in the side mirror. Work clothes, scuffed boots, Idaho badge reading Mike Johnson, maintenance. Walking through the employee entrance felt surreal. He'd built this hotel, but he'd never seen it from this angle. Fluorescent lighting, narrow hallways, time clocks that would soon become weapons of wage theft. At the maintenance supervisor's office, Marcus met Tom Rodriguez, a weathered man who looked like he'd been fixing things since before Marcus was born. "You must be the new guy, Mike Johnson, right?" "Yes, sir. Ready to work." "Good attitude. We need more guys like you." Tom handed him a uniform shirt and a toolbox. "Fair warning, though. Mr. Walsh runs a tight ship, real tight. Don't give him any reason to notice you." Marcus nodded, filing away the information. Walsh clearly ruled through fear. "What's the best way to stay on his good side?" Tom's expression darkened. "Keep your head down, do your work, and pray you're not the type he decides to make an example of." As Marcus clocked in for his first shift, one thought crystallized. Kevin Walsh had been destroying black employees with impunity for years, but he'd never dealt with a black employee who owned the company. The hunt was about to begin. Day 1. The introduction. Marcus clocked in at 6:55 a.m., his hands unfamiliar with the rough plastic of the time card. Around him, other maintenance workers moved with the weary efficiency of people who'd been doing this for years. "Johnson!" Tom Rodriguez called out. "You're with me today. Gotta show you the ropes." For 2 hours, Marcus learned the hidden geography of his own hotel. Service corridors he'd never seen, mechanical rooms humming with the infrastructure that kept luxury running smoothly. Every task felt like archaeology, uncovering a world that existed parallel to the one he knew. At 9 a.m., everything changed. Kevin Walsh appeared in the maintenance bay like a storm front, his expensive suit incongruous among the work clothes and tool belts. Marcus kept his head down, arranging tools in his assigned locker. "Rodriguez!" Walsh's voice cut through the ambient noise. "I need to see last week's overtime reports. Some of these numbers look inflated." "Yes, sir, Mr. Walsh. The convention overflow required. I don't want excuses, I want accuracy." Walsh's eyes swept the room, cataloging faces. They lingered on Marcus for a moment. "Who's the new guy?" "Mike Johnson, sir. Started today." Walsh approached, and Marcus felt his pulse quicken. This was the test. Could Marcus Sterling disappear completely into Mike Johnson? "Johnson." Walsh looked him up and down. "Do you have experience?" "Yes, sir. 15 years of maintenance and repair." Marcus kept his voice steady, deferential. "Good. We expect efficiency here. No union nonsense, no overtime abuse." Walsh's tone carried a warning. "You seem like you might have a good work ethic, not like some of the others we get." Marcus felt the coded language like a physical blow. Others meant black workers. Walsh was already categorizing him. "I just want to do good work, sir." "Excellent attitude." Walsh turned back to Rodriguez. "See? This is what I'm talking about. Some people get it." As Walsh walked away, Marcus realized with sick clarity what had just happened. Walsh had looked at him and seen a good black employee, one who knew his place. Day 2, the philosophy lesson. Tuesday brought Marcus his first real taste of Walsh's management style. He was assigned to clean guest bathrooms on the executive floor, a job that put him in Walsh's path multiple times. During his lunch break, Marcus sat alone in the employee cafeteria, picking at a sandwich and listening to conversations around him. The other workers spoke in hushed tones about schedule changes, cut hours, mysterious performance reviews that seemed to target specific employees. "Johnson!" Marcus looked up to find Walsh standing over him. "Mind if I sit? I like to check in with new employees." "Of course, sir." Walsh settled across from him, his expression almost friendly. "You know, Mike, can I call you Mike? I appreciate workers like you. You understand what it takes to succeed in this business." Marcus nodded, fighting every instinct to challenge what he knew was coming. "The hospitality industry requires a certain discipline, especially with some of our employee demographics." Walsh leaned forward conspiratorially. "Between you and me, we've had issues with work ethic in certain communities. Entitlement issues, you know what I mean?" The words hit Marcus like physical blows, but he forced himself to nod slightly. I can tell you're different, though. You have that quiet professionalism. That's why I think you'll do well here. Walsh's smile was predatory. Unlike some of the others, you seem to understand that this is a business, not a social program. Marcus gripped his sandwich tighter, using every ounce of self-control to maintain his cover. I just want to earn my paycheck, sir. Exactly. That's the attitude we need more of. Walsh stood, clearly pleased with himself. Keep this up, Mike, and you'll go far here. As Walsh walked away, Marcus felt nauseated. The man had just delivered a racist manifesto, confident that Marcus, another black man, would agree with him. Day 3. The system revealed. Wednesday brought Marcus face-to-face with the machinery of discrimination. He was assigned to help process employee evaluations, filing paperwork in the HR office. That's when he saw the pattern. Review after review showed a consistent theme. Black employees received lower scores across all categories, despite identical or superior performance metrics. Comments like attitude concerns and cultural fit issues appeared repeatedly, but only on evaluations for black workers. Marcus photographed everything with a tiny camera James had provided, his hands shaking with rage. But the real revelation came during his afternoon break. Walsh appeared again, this time with coffee and a conspiratorial grin. Mike, I want to show you something. You strike me as someone who understands how business really works. He pulled out his laptop and opened a spreadsheet. This is our cost reduction analysis. See these numbers? We've saved over $200,000 in the past 3 years through strategic workforce optimization. Marcus stared at the screen. The optimization was surgical in its precision, cutting hours for black employees, denying promotion opportunities, systematically reducing their economic prospects. The beauty is, Walsh continued, it's all perfectly legal. Performance-based decisions, schedule efficiency, merit-based advancement. No one can prove discrimination because we're just running a tight ship. That's very smart, sir. The words tasted like poison. I knew you'd appreciate it. You see, Mike, the secret to management is understanding that not all employees are created equal. Some need more guidance than others. And some, well, Walsh chuckled, some need to learn their place. Marcus felt his vision blur with rage. This man was openly bragging about systematic racism, confident that his audience would applaud. The scholarship fund is the perfect example, Walsh continued. We tell them it's merit-based, but obviously we can't just hand out money to anyone. We have to be selective about the type of families we support. The scholarship fund? Oh, you didn't know? We have an employee scholarship program, supposed to help workers' kids go to college. Walsh's expression turned smug. But between you and me, we can't just throw money at every sob story. We have to consider fit. Marcus's hands clenched under the table. Fit? Cultural fit? Academic potential? Whether they'll actually succeed or just waste the opportunity? Walsh leaned closer. You understand what I'm saying, right, Mike? We can't let emotions override good business sense. Day 4. The breaking point. Thursday morning brought Marcus to his emotional breaking point. He was cleaning the executive conference room when Walsh entered with his assistant, discussing the week's performance metrics. The Williams situation is handled, Walsh was saying. The daughter stopped asking questions about the scholarship. Amazing how quickly these problems resolve when people understand the consequences. Marcus's grip tightened on his cleaning supplies as Walsh continued. I think we need to implement similar efficiency measures at the other properties. Start with the obvious targets. Single mothers, older workers, anyone who might cause problems. Clean house, so to speak. His assistant laughed nervously. Won't that attract attention? Not if we're smart about it. Performance issues, schedule conflicts, attitude problems. There are a dozen ways to document cause for termination. The key is consistency. Walsh noticed Marcus and raised his voice slightly. Mike, you're doing excellent work. This is exactly the kind of employee we want to retain. The praise felt like a slap. Walsh was using him as an example of a good black employee while planning to systematically destroy others. Thank you, sir. After they left, Marcus stood alone in the conference room, shaking with rage. Through the window, he could see the employee parking lot where Janet Williams' old Honda sat. The car of a woman who had devoted 15 years to this company only to watch her daughter's dreams be crushed by systematic racism. Day 5. The evidence. Friday brought Marcus the smoking gun he needed. Walsh had left his office unlocked during a morning meeting, and Marcus seized the opportunity. Inside Walsh's computer, he found everything: email chains discussing demographic optimization, spreadsheets tracking the racial breakdown of terminated employees, and most damning of all, recordings of phone calls where Walsh explicitly discussed targeting black families for elimination from the scholarship program. One recording made Marcus's blood freeze. The beauty is they'll never know it's racial. We just say they don't meet current criteria. What are they going to do, sue us? They can't afford lawyers, and they know if they make noise, they'll lose their jobs too. Marcus copied everything onto the encrypted drive James had provided, his hands steady despite the fury consuming him. As his shift ended, Walsh stopped him one last time. "Mike, I've been impressed this week. I was really impressed. You're exactly the kind of employee we need more of. Hard-working, respectful, and knows how to follow the program." Walsh clapped him on the shoulder. "I think you and I understand each other." Marcus looked directly into Walsh's eyes and smiled. "Yes, sir, Mr. Walsh. I think we understand each other perfectly." Walking to his car, Marcus felt the weight of what he'd discovered. Walsh hadn't just created a system of discrimination. He'd built a machine designed to crush black families' aspirations while making them grateful for the privilege of being exploited. But Kevin Walsh had made one critical error. He'd bragged about his racism to the wrong black man. Monday morning, Marcus Sterling was going to remind Kevin Walsh exactly who he worked for. Sunday night, Marcus sat in his home office staring at evidence spread across his desk. 5 days of documentation painted a picture so systematic, so deliberately cruel, that even he was stunned by its scope. But he needed Walsh's voice, confessing to crimes that could destroy lives. Monday morning, Marcus arrived early for his final shift as Mike Johnson. James had provided a recording device so small it fit inside his uniform pocket, virtually undetectable. At 8 a.m., Walsh appeared with his usual swagger. "Mike, perfect timing, I need you upstairs." Marcus followed Walsh to his office, pulse quickening. Walsh closed the door and gestured to a chair. "Sit down, Mike. I want to talk about business." "Yes, sir." Walsh settled behind his desk, pulling out a thick file. "I've been watching you this week. You're exactly what we need more of." Marcus nodded while the device captured every word. "I'm expanding our efficiency program to other properties, and I need someone I trust. Someone who understands how things really work." Walsh leaned forward. "How about a promotion? Maintenance supervisor in Boston?" The offer hung in the air. Walsh was buying his silence. "That's generous, sir. You've earned it. But I need to know you're completely on board with our management philosophy. No bleeding heart nonsense. Can I count on you?" Marcus felt the weight of the moment. "What would you need me to do?" Walsh's smile turned predatory. "Same thing we do here. Identifying problem employees, documenting performance issues, streamlining workforce demographics." He opened the file, revealing detailed profiles of black employees. "We've developed sophisticated methods for managing our challenges." Marcus stared at the files, each representing a family like the Williams. "These contain everything: work histories, family situations, financial vulnerabilities." Walsh pulled out a folder marked Williams Janet. Classic case of someone who might become problematic if not handled properly. Problematic how? Asking questions about policies, demanding explanations above their pay grade. Walsh's tone turned contemptuous. The daughter was sniffing around the scholarship fund, wanting to know why qualified students were rejected. Had to shut that down. How? Simple. Made it clear continued employment depended on accepting decisions without question. Amazing how quickly people fall in line when their livelihood is threatened. Walsh chuckled. We also had to ensure the scholarship fund remained properly managed. Properly managed? Walsh pulled out financial documents. The fund has $300,000, Mike. Supposed to go to employee children for college, but we can't just hand out money to every applicant. Marcus felt his jaw tighten. No, sir. Exactly. So we've redirected most of it to more appropriate uses. Management bonuses, facility improvements, real business needs. We apply more rigorous selection criteria for certain types of applicants. Certain types? Walsh's mask dropped completely. Come on, Mike, you know what I mean. We can't waste educational resources on families that won't appreciate them. Better to invest in employees who understand loyalty and discretion. The racist confession hung like poison. Marcus forced himself to nod. I've personally redirected over $250,000 in 3 years, Walsh continued proudly. Money that would have been wasted on sob stories. Instead, it's invested in maintaining the workforce we actually want. Marcus felt something snap inside him, but his voice remained calm. That's very efficient. I knew you'd understand. So, ready to take this program nationwide? Marcus looked directly into Walsh's eyes, his smile cold and sharp. Mr. Walsh, I think it's time you knew exactly who you've been talking to. Walsh's confident smile faltered. What do you mean? Marcus stood slowly, his posture shifting from the deferential hunch of Mike Johnson to the commanding presence of Marcus Sterling. I mean, Kevin, that you've just confessed to systematically stealing from black families to the owner of Sterling Hotels. The color drained from Walsh's face. That's impossible. You're Mike Johnson. Maintenance. No. Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out his real ID, placing it on the desk between them. I'm Marcus Sterling, and for the past week I've been watching you destroy everything I built this company to represent. Walsh stared at the ID like it was a snake. His mouth opened and closed wordlessly as the implications crashed over him. You can't be, you're black? Marcus's voice turned ice cold. Is that what you're trying to say, Kevin? Are you having trouble reconciling the fact that you've been explaining your racist policies to your black CEO? Walsh shot to his feet, panic replacing confusion. Mr. Sterling, I can explain. Explain what? How have you stolen $250,000 from families like the Williams? How have you been systematically denying scholarships to black students while approving white students with lower qualifications? Marcus's voice rose with each word. Or maybe you'd like to explain how you thought it was appropriate to share your racial theories with someone you assumed would agree with them. Sir, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. Marcus activated his phone's speaker and played back Walsh's recorded voice. We can't waste educational resources on families that won't appreciate them. Walsh's face went ashen as his own words filled the room. That's my voice, but you're taking it out of context. Marcus played another clip. Amazing how quickly people fall in line when their livelihood is threatened. And another. We apply more rigorous selection criteria for certain types of applicants. Stop. Walsh's voice cracked. Please, just stop. No, Kevin. You don't get to ask me to stop, not when you've been terrorizing my employees for years. Marcus stepped closer, his presence filling the small office. Do you have any idea what you've done? Janet Williams has worked for this company for 15 years. 15 years of perfect service, and you threatened to destroy her livelihood because her daughter dared to ask why she was rejected for a scholarship she earned. Walsh backed against his desk, trapped. It was just business. Business? Marcus's laugh was harsh. You call stealing from black families business? You're threatening a single mother's business? He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. Tell me, Kevin, what did you call me behind my back? What racist jokes did you make about your black CEO? I never. Don't lie to me. I've seen your emails. I know exactly what you think of people who look like me. Walsh's composure finally shattered completely. You set me up. This is entrapment. I documented crimes you were already committing. There's a difference. Marcus straightened, every inch the commanding executive. But you're right about one thing. I did set you up, because men like you only reveal your true nature when you think you're safe. Mr. Sterling, please. I have a family. I can change. Now you want to talk about family, Marcus's voice thundered. What about Zara Williams' family? What about all the families you've destroyed with your policies? He pulled out his phone again. Security, I need you in Mr. Walsh's office immediately. Sir, please, we can work this out. Work this out? Marcus stared at him with disgust. Kevin, you just spent 20 minutes explaining to me how you've systematically stolen from black families and intimidated employees into silence. You bragged about it. You offered me a promotion to help you expand it nationwide. The office door opened and James Park entered with 2 security officers. Gentlemen, Marcus announced, his voice carrying the full authority of ownership. Please escort Mr. Walsh from the building. He's terminated immediately. You can't do this! Walsh's voice rose to a near shriek. I'll sue! You'll what? Marcus stepped forward, and Walsh actually cowered. You'll sue me for firing you after you confess to embezzlement and racial discrimination? Please, be my guest. James stepped forward with practiced efficiency. Mr. Walsh, you need to come with us. This isn't over. Walsh's desperation was pathetic now. I know things about this company. I have connections. Marcus smiled coldly. Kevin, in 5 minutes, every employee in this building is going to know exactly what you've been doing. In 5 hours, it'll be company-wide. By tomorrow, every hotel executive in the country will know your name. He paused for effect. Good luck finding another job. Walsh's face crumpled as the reality hit him. His career was over, his reputation was destroyed, and it was all because he'd been too arrogant to realize he was confessing his crimes to the one person who could destroy him. Please, he whispered. My family depends on this job. Then you should have thought about that before you decided to destroy other families. Marcus's voice was final. Security, remove him. As James and the officers escorted Walsh toward the door, Marcus called out one last time. Oh, and Kevin, that promotion you offered me, I'm giving it to Janet Williams. She's going to be the new regional manager with full authority over hiring, scheduling, and scholarship decisions. His smile was sharp as a blade. I think she'll do a much better job than you did. Walsh's anguished cry echoed down the hallway as the elevator doors closed. Marcus stood alone in the office, surrounded by the evidence of years of systematic racism. His hands were shaking, not with fear but with rage finally released. For a week, he'd been forced to smile and nod while a racist destroyed his employees' lives. But now justice was beginning. He picked up Walsh's phone and dialed the main employee break room. It was time for every worker in the building to learn the truth about what had been done to them and what was going to change. Marcus stood at the podium in the hotel's main conference room, looking out at every employee in the building. Housekeepers, maintenance workers, front desk staff, kitchen crew, they filled every seat and lined the walls, their faces reflecting confusion, curiosity, and apprehension. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming on such short notice. I know this is unusual, but what I have to tell you couldn't wait. Janet Williams sat in the front row, still wearing her housekeeping uniform. She looked bewildered. 30 minutes ago, she'd been called away from cleaning rooms for an emergency all-staff meeting. My name is Marcus Sterling, and I'm the owner of this hotel. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Most had never seen him in person. For the past week, I've been working among you as Mike Johnson, maintenance worker. Some of you worked alongside me. Some of you shared your stories with me. His voice grew stronger. What I discovered during that time has fundamentally changed how this company will operate. Marcus activated the conference room's audio system. Walsh's recorded voice filled the room. We can't waste educational resources on families that won't appreciate them. The silence was deafening. That's Kevin Walsh, your former regional manager, explaining to me why black employees' children are systematically denied scholarships. Marcus watched faces change from confusion to shock to anger. Former, because as of 20 minutes ago, he's been terminated. Now the murmur became a roar. Employees turned to each other, disbelief and validation warring on their faces. For 3 years, Kevin Walsh has stolen over $250,000 from the Employee Scholarship Fund, money specifically designated to help your children attend college. He used that money for management bonuses while telling deserving students they didn't meet current criteria. In the front row, Janet Williams's face crumpled. Marcus saw recognition dawn. Her daughter's rejection finally made sense. But Walsh's crimes go deeper than theft. He systematically targeted black employees for reduced hours, impossible schedules, and fabricated performance issues. He threatened jobs to silence complaints. He turned this workplace into a machine designed to crush your dreams while making you grateful for the privilege. Marcus paused, letting the weight of his words settle. That ends today. He gestured toward Janet. Janet Williams, would you please stand? Janet rose slowly, tears streaming down her cheeks. Miss Williams has served this company with distinction for 15 years. She's worked through illness, family emergencies, and countless challenges without complaint. She's the embodiment of everything this company should value. Marcus's voice carried across the room. Effective immediately, Janet Williams is promoted to Regional Diversity and Inclusion Director, with full authority over hiring, scheduling, and scholarship decisions. The room erupted in applause. Janet covered her face with her hands, overwhelmed. But that's just the beginning, Marcus continued. Today, I'm announcing the Sterling Hotel's Employee Empowerment Initiative. He clicked a presentation slide. First, every black employee who was denied a scholarship will receive full funding, plus compensation for the delays Walsh caused. This includes Zara Williams, who will receive a full 4-year scholarship to Northwestern University. More applause, louder now. Second, we're establishing employee oversight committees at every Sterling property. These committees will have real power, authority to investigate complaints, review management decisions, and ensure fair treatment. Committee members will be elected by employees, not appointed by management. Marcus clicked to the next slide. Third, new policies go into effect immediately. Transparent scheduling systems, objective performance reviews, anonymous complaint processes with third-party investigation. No more retaliation, no more fear. He looked directly at Janet. Miss Williams, your first assignment is to audit every Sterling property for similar problems. You'll have unlimited resources and my full backing to clean the house wherever necessary. Janet found her voice. Mr. Sterling, I don't know what to say. Say you'll help me rebuild this company the right way. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Marcus turned back to the crowd. But systematic change requires more than policies. It requires accountability. He clicked on financial documents. Every penny Kevin Walsh stole will be returned with interest. Every employee he shortchanged will receive back pay. Every family he harmed will be compensated. The energy in the room was electric now, disbelief giving way to hope. I also want you to know that Walsh didn't act alone. His supervisor knew. HR knew. Other managers knew. Marcus's voice hardened. They're all being investigated. Anyone who enabled this racism is finished at Sterling Hotels. An older black man in maintenance coveralls raised his hand. Mr. Sterling, how do we know this isn't just talk? How do we know things will really change? Marcus nodded appreciatively. Fair question. Here's how. Within 30 days, every Sterling property will have employee representatives on management committees. Within 60 days, we'll publish transparent diversity reports. Within 90 days, you'll see the results in your paychecks, your schedules, and your treatment. He paused for emphasis. And if I fail to deliver on any of this, Miss Williams has my permission to call me out publicly. Janet smiled through her tears. I'll hold you to that, sir. I'm counting on it. Marcus looked across the room of faces. Black, white, Latino, Asian, all united in their shared experience of workplace dignity finally restored. Ladies and gentlemen, Sterling Hotels was built on the idea that hospitality starts with how we treat each other. For too long, we've fallen short of that ideal. Today, we start living up to it. The applause was thunderous now, but Marcus raised his hand for quiet. One more thing. Kevin Walsh offered me a promotion to help spread his racist policies nationwide. Instead, I'm offering all of you something better. The chance to build a company that lifts everyone up. His voice rang with conviction. This is what Sterling Hotels was always meant to be. As employees surged forward to congratulate Janet and ask questions, Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Pride in the company he'd built and hope for what it could become. The revolution had begun. 3 weeks later, Marcus walked through the Sterling Hotel's main floor and barely recognized the place. The same marble gleamed, the same chandeliers sparkled. But something fundamental had shifted. The energy itself felt different. In the employee break room, he found Janet Williams reviewing scholarship applications at a table that had been upgraded with comfortable chairs and proper lighting. Her new nameplate read, Regional Diversity and Inclusion Director. But more importantly, her posture radiated confidence. How are we doing, Janet? She looked up with a smile that would have been impossible a month ago. Mr. Sterling, I've got wonderful news. We've approved 14 scholarship applications this week. All the students Kevin Walsh rejected, plus 6 new ones. Marcus sat across from her, noting how naturally she now occupied space in what had once been Walsh's domain. And Zara? She starts at Northwestern in the fall. Full scholarship, plus a laptop and textbooks. Janet's voice carried a mother's pride. She calls you her guardian angel. She earned every bit of it herself. Through the break room window, Marcus watched the afternoon shift change. Where once employees had hurried past each other with downcast eyes, now they lingered to talk, laugh, share stories. The transformation was visible in dozens of small interactions. "Janet, I want to show you something." He led her to the main lobby where a new display case had been installed near the front desk. Inside were photos of scholarship recipients, Zara's smiling face prominent among them. "Every guest who walks through these doors will see the faces of the families we're investing in," Marcus explained. "This isn't charity, it's what success looks like when it lifts entire communities." Janet studied the display, her eyes lingering on her daughter's photo. "You know what the biggest change is, Mr. Sterling? It's not the money or the policies, it's that people can dream again." They were interrupted by Tom Rodriguez, who approached with obvious purpose. "Mr. Sterling, sir? I wanted to thank you personally. My nephew, Carlos, he got approved for the scholarship yesterday. First person in our family to go to college." Marcus shook Tom's weathered hand. "Carlos earned it, Tom, just like all of them." "Still," Tom's voice grew thick with emotion. "3 weeks ago, we thought the system was rigged against us. Now it feels like we're part of something bigger." As Tom walked away, Marcus turned to Janet. "Speaking of something bigger, how's the expansion going?" Janet pulled out her tablet, scrolling through reports from other Sterling properties. "Boston launched their Employee Oversight Committee yesterday. Chicago's committee filed their first complaint, and management actually responded within 24 hours. Miami's already identified 2 supervisors who need retraining. Any resistance?" "Some, but Mr. Sterling, when employees realize they have real power, they use it responsibly. They don't want to destroy the company, they want to improve it." Their conversation was interrupted by a burst of laughter from the employee dining area. Through the glass doors, Marcus could see the afternoon housekeeping crew gathered around a table, celebrating something. "What's that about?" Janet smiled. "Maria Gonzalez just got promoted to head housekeeper at the Boston property. 6 months ago, Walsh had her scheduled for termination due to attitude problems." Marcus felt the familiar warmth that had been growing stronger each day. Attitude problems? She asked why her hours kept getting cut while less experienced employees got overtime. Janet's expression turned serious. "Under Walsh's system, asking questions was insubordination. Under our new system, it's leadership." They walked back toward Janet's office, passing walls now decorated with employee recognition boards and community achievement announcements. The stark institutional feel had been replaced with something warmer, more human. "Janet, can I ask you something personal?" "Of course." "How do you do it? How do you forgive what was done to your family and channel it into something positive?" Janet stopped walking and considered the question carefully. "Mr. Sterling, for 15 years I cleaned this building believing that hard work and dignity would be enough. When Zara got rejected, I felt like that faith was naive." She paused. "But then you showed me that the system wasn't broken, it was corrupted. There's a difference. And that difference matters? All the difference in the world. Broken things can't be fixed. Corrupted things can be cleaned." She gestured toward the bustling activity around them. "This is what cleaning looks like." As they reached Janet's office, Marcus reflected on the transformation. A month ago, this had been a place where dreams came to die. Now it was becoming what he'd always intended it to be, a place where families could build futures together. The revolution wasn't just about policies and procedures. It was about restoring the possibility that hard work, dignity, and community could actually lead somewhere better. 6 months later, Marcus Sterling stood in the same basement break room where he'd first heard Zara Williams crying. The space had been transformed. New furniture, better lighting, walls decorated with scholarship recipients and employee achievements. Today, it hosted a celebration. Zara sat at the center table, laptop open, video calling from her Northwestern University dorm. Her face glowed with confidence. "Mr. Sterling, I wanted you to meet my study group." On screen, other students waved from what looked like a library. Behind Zara, textbooks covered her desk, evidence of dreams fully engaged. "How are classes?" Better than I imagined. And, Mr. Sterling, I'm majoring in business administration with an organizational justice focus. Someone taught me that companies can be forced for good when led by people who remember where they came from. Janet beamed beside him. She's going to change the world. Marcus looked around at other employees gathered for the call. Tom Rodriguez, whose nephew was now a college sophomore. Maria Gonzalez, thriving in Boston leadership. Dozens whose lives had been touched by systematic change. Zara, your courage to question that scholarship rejection started all this. Your voice mattered. My voice and your willingness to listen, that's the combination that changes everything. As the call ended, Marcus reflected on Zara's lesson. True success isn't climbing the ladder alone. It's building elevators for everyone behind you. The Sterling Hotel's Employee Empowerment Initiative had spread to all 47 properties. Over 200 students had received scholarships. Employee satisfaction reached company highs. Most importantly, families were dreaming again. Sometimes the most important business decisions happen when you remember that behind every policy, every procedure, every corporate initiative, there are real people with real dreams that deserve real chances. Share this story if you believe in lifting as we climb. Have you witnessed workplace discrimination? Your voice can change someone's life. Speak up. Stand up. The next family's future might depend on it. #justice at work, #community first, #every voice matters.